So here we are on the Nerd on the Street Gamma site. This was the third iteration of the HTML Nerd on the Street website. And as you can see, this was a big step up from the beta site. We no longer have that powder blue color theme. We no longer just have HTML formatting. We've actually got some images in here. And this version of the website was the first non-beta version. This was the first time that you could just go to plain old nerdonthestreet.com and get the custom website that we made. Now, this website I made with the help of Melinda Grigg. She and I used Aptana Studio. We used the Aptana Studio Eclipse plugin, and then we used another Eclipse plugin that let us work on the same page at the same time, like on the same HTML code. So as you can see, the beta site, I did separate things using tabs, and I did use some white space to organize the code. In this version of the website, Aptana did that for me. You can see, you know, I would not have gone an extra tab just to type home or forums and things like that. But yeah, Aptana did all of that for me, and that is why the white space is absolutely completely organized in this version. So yeah, Melinda taught me a few things about HTML. I actually knew more than she did about content management systems, but she knew more than I did about plain old HTML. I know the basics, of course, but she taught me how to do, as you can see, the buttons are kind of lighting up, the shadows are lighting up when we hover over. She taught me how to do that. She pretty much knew CSS really well. I knew all of the HTML tags that we were using. She knew how to use a style sheet to bring all of that to life. So you can see we didn't have a separate image for each of these. Originally, I wanted to use a home button image, a forums button image. She showed me how to use one image so that we didn't have to download 6 different images. We could just use one background image and then make each of the buttons just by making a new div with the navigation button class. So yeah, that's very nice. The buttons were very nice, as you can see, especially compared to before where they were just blue links, or where I had the div background colors for the backgrounds. Having an image for the background was very nice, and yeah, we were still using text, so we still had the ability to add as many buttons as we wanted to, just by adding a new div with that class in it. I want to mention, I don't know if you can see this in the video or not, you probably should be able to. See between these buttons how it gets dark in the middle? That is actually an optical illusion. That is the same background color as it is over here. That is not an image, that's not a gradient. That is an optical illusion because these buttons have these background images with the middle of the image lighter than the outside of the image. So that creates the optical illusion of between the buttons, the middle looks darker. Really, it's not. You can see we still have our channel trailer there as always. We have our links as always right next to the channel trailer and right aligned. And yeah, I think that looked really nice. We had, you know, all the different places you can contact me. Once again, the little autobiography about Jacob Kaufman and a little thing saying, hey, you should totally join our website because it's very cool. New website this weekend. You can see I liked to tell people in advance when there's going to be a new website, because it would have sucked if someone had come to this website and left and then like the next day I had a better website up. So yeah, the previous website had a link to this version does not have a link to the next version, but it said, hey, come back this weekend and a new version will be here. You can see the footer is still here, and this was still being hosted on the G3 server. Actually, I don't think it was being hosted on the G3 server anymore. I think at this point we might have moved to the Dell Dimension 3000 for a server. Because the forums, I remember I set the forums up on the G3 server, but the WordPress servers may have been on, like I said, on the Dell Dimension, not on the G3. And in fact, towards the end, we actually moved this website, or I moved this website over to the Mac Pro just before we released the newer version of the website based on OC Portal. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that this was being hosted on the Dell Dimension 3000 now that I think about it. I had this special thanks at the bottom because it was still huge, absolutely huge, that Maddie and her dad gave me that G3 server, because that's what got me started with self-hosted websites in the first place. And you can see I still had the G3 sitting in the back there for show. I just wasn't using it. I was pretending that I still used it, but really I wasn't. And it wasn't because the G3 server could not do WordPress. It was because WordPress pages took like a second and a half to load on the G3 server, whereas they took half a second to load or less on the Dell Dimension 3000. So yeah, it was just as I was getting into more advanced PHP applications, I needed a more powerful server, and the Dell Dimension 3000 was more powerful than the G3. So yeah, you can see this border radius we've got at the bottom here. Melinda showed me how to do that, and I think that really added a lot. I know these are little things I'm pointing out, but really they add up to something really nice. This looks way nicer than the beta site, really, if you think about it. If we go and look at the beta site again, you can see this, like, there's this, right? And then there's this. And we can all agree that the Gamma site looked much, much more professional. The header. We no longer just have an HTML header. We have an actual, and this wasn't even an image. Melinda showed me how to use an image as a background of a div and put the header in that way. And then that way, you know, people can't click and drag the images. The images are locked in place because the image isn't actually there. It's just a background. So it's the same with the buttons. You cannot click and drag the images on the buttons because the images are backgrounds. They're not actually images sitting there. So you can see on the side we have the home button to get back here for some reason, even though really none of the other pages were on here. I guess the articles were. If we take a look at the forums, you can see the forums are the same forums we used for the beta site. I did not change the forums for the Gamma site. As you can see, this is what I'm talking about with the dragging images around. The forums, you could click and drag the header, and that's not going to break any usability, but it just looks kind of unprofessional if you accidentally click and drag and it doesn't work or it doesn't click because it's dragging. And you can pick up the image and drag it around. You cannot do that with this. I'm clicking and dragging and it's not working because that's not an image, that's a background there. So yeah, the forums stayed exactly the same. I may have done some changes, like with, I don't know. I don't think I changed the theme. I think I changed the favicon, because the favicon that you saw in the last video was the latest version of the favicon. But I think there used to be like a really small NOTS, or maybe like an inside of the HTML carets. I think I updated the favicon when I released the Gamma site, but other than that, the forums stayed exactly the same, and all the accounts stayed the same. So yeah, the forums are still there, but that was a really big part of the website still. So yeah, if you want to look at the forums, or if you want to see what the forums were like, go over and watch the beta site archive video, because that's where I really went in depth into the forums. So yeah, next we did have articles on this website, and oh, that's right, I need to do this, because the articles were no longer hosted in HTML files. Originally, I was going to use HTML files for the articles, and once again have the articles be in the same website as the homepage, but I realized that's really not very fluent for writing articles. It did not encourage me to write articles. If anything, it discouraged me from writing articles because it was a lot of work I had to go to every time I wanted to post something. So I learned how to use WordPress, the content management system, and this was hosted on the Dell Dimension, like I said. And I wanted a theme that looked as close to like a news site as possible. I did not want this to look like a blog. I wanted it to look busy. I wanted it to look like a professional website. So yeah, as you can see, I just kind of threw a calendar in and threw some links in, and that was meant to make it look more busy. But you can see I wrote a whole lot of articles while I was on this version of the website. This article right here I actually used as a school assignment, or I wrote it as a school assignment and then turned it in through the website, and this was like my assignment, and I got a very good grade on it. My teacher was very impressed with the website and the article. I wonder why that image didn't load, if that was... Oh, well, I guess I used... Yeah, whatever website was hosting that image must have just taken it down. When you're not logged in, there is no way to post comments, so that's interesting. As you can see at the bottom here, you can log in, but this was really only for me. Let me see if I can log in. Don't think that's going to let me do that right now. Street.com. Yeah, no, that's not going to let me log in. But yeah, I could log in for posting things, and I did post things from my phone sometimes, not really on here, more on the blog. But yeah, as you can see at the top, we have links. All of the links that were in the sidebar here were on the top bar here. And yeah, this was just meant to look professional. Once again, there were ads in the sidebars and an ad at the bottom. And yeah, that was the WordPress articles website. And yeah, I'm not going to go through every single one of these articles, but you can see what they would have looked like. I started using images a bit more because they were easier to use in WordPress than they were just in HTML files. Yeah, it was a big step up learning how to use WordPress, because there is a certain, there's a certain value in making your own HTML for a website. But if you can get a better website out using someone else's code, then you know, sometimes it's better to do that. So yeah, this was when I started moving away from really being a programmer and moving towards being a system administrator. And this is what I enjoy more, is system administrating more than actually programming. So yeah, that was what the articles were on. Now I also had my lunchtime blog, and the blog used to be on Blogspot. If I go to jacobgke.blogspot.com, this used to be the Nerd on the Street lunchtime blog, and I posted like 10 things on this and then stopped doing the blog. And this used to be something that I wrote during lunch at school. That's why it was called the lunchtime blog. Eventually, I stopped wanting to do that during lunch. I started doing like homework and stuff at lunch instead. But I still had a blog. So if we take a look at the blog, this version of the blog, I moved all of the posts. I copied them from Blogspot, put them onto this WordPress website. And this website was meant to be the exact opposite of the Articles website. The Articles website was a news site. It was busy. It was professional. This was supposed to be simplistic, pretty, just easy on the eyes. And yeah, there was an ad here, but there was still a whole lot of white space, not a whole lot to this theme, very plain theme. And yeah, I really enjoyed this as well. This was what I posted to from my phone a lot, because unlike HTML files that I can't, you know, edit HTML files on the server from my phone, I can log in and make posts to WordPress websites on my phone. So yeah, I made some posts on my phone. There's no way to go back and forth between articles on here, is there? You can see I just did stuff for fun on here. The articles were for people who were looking for something of substance. This was for people who were interested in me and in Nerd on the Street. You can see I made a post one time when the servers went down, the web server went down for a little bit because the internet was out in my room. And yeah, you can see this was the Dell Dimension 3000 that this was being hosted on. No, this was not the 3000. This was a Dell Dimension 8400. So yeah, this was being hosted on this Dell Dimension 8400. That's what it was being hosted on. And you can see I printed that out just for this blog post, and then I just kept it on there for a while, nerdonthestreet.com. If you can't read it, it says quality servers for quality content. And I thought it was funny, just the simplistic, pretty sign on the side of an absolutely crappy computer. But yeah, the 8400 was much, much faster than the 3000s were. So yeah, that makes more sense. This was a Dell Dimension 8400 that I was using. Yeah, so I posted stuff about marching band, I posted stuff about school, I posted stuff about, you know, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that was the lunchtime blog. And that was, you know, linked to from here. And once again, all of the links on the sidebar here were on the sidebar here. At least most of them were. Not really, actually. Only home was. Okay, well, that's interesting. You can see there was a link to Better Than Vlogs because this was a blog. I also had a Minecraft series that was sort of vlogs at the time. You can see a picture of me, and Better Than Wolves is pulled up in the background. And you can see towards the end of this website, I did get the Mac Pro, so this was hosted on the Mac Pro. But yeah, at the beginning, it was hosted on the 8400. Man, this is really nice. I can see exactly when. See, this is December 6th, and then that Christmas, or the following January, I got the Mac Pro and switched to that. Nice timeline there. So yeah, that's the blog once again. Next up, we had the live page, and this was the same live page. Once again, you can go and look at the Nerd on the Street beta site archive if you want to see what the live page looked like with those Flash apps actually working. And then we had this thing that said Nerd Club. And this actually is an empty link. I don't know why it is a link. See, ahref, I guess if you make a link and don't give it a source, then it will just link back to whatever page it's on. So this was originally going to link to the Nerd Club, and the next version of the website was codenamed Nerd Club. I'll talk about that a bit more in the next video for this. But yeah, the next version of the website was codenamed Nerd Club, and this was an empty link. Eventually it was going to link to the Nerd Club. For now, it was just supposed to get people interested, like, huh, I wonder what that Nerd Club button does. Of course, nobody asked that because nobody went to the website, and those who did just thought it was a broken link and didn't think anything of it. But yeah, this was the Gamma site. Once again, we had ads here, and we had ads here, and ads here, and ads here. And I think at some point there might have been a way to register on the WordPress websites to leave comments. I thought that we could leave comments on these, but it turns out we cannot. But yeah, I did not really like that there were 3 different websites Just me personally, when I went to the forums, I had to log into the forums. When I went to articles, I had to log into articles. When I went to blog, I had to log into the blog. And those were 3 different databases, 3 different sets of usernames and passwords. Of course, I used the same username and password for all 3, but it wasn't the same as if they were all on the same website. And you'll see that concern manifested in the next version of the website. But yeah, the Gamma site was really a collection of Nerd on the Street websites, and then this homepage itself, which linked them all together. So yeah, hoped you enjoyed this. That was the Nerd on the Street Gamma site. Really started getting more into content management systems at this point. I'm Jacob Califan, I'm Nerd on the Street, and I will see you guys later. See ya.